Hey, everybody, welcome back. Craig Schaup here with George Thomas, our film critic from the Akron Beacon Journal. George is here, and we're talking about movies being released in theaters that you're going to see in January of all times. But I guess it wouldn't be a January without a one word Jason Statham title, right?
Yeah, something like that. First of all, let me apologize for Mercy in giving that a good review. I stand by it, however. But yeah, you know, what was it? July used to be the purview of Will Smith, and it seems like January is the purview of Jason Statham now. So yeah,
No.
one of those instances.
It's always like one word titles, too. Like he always stars in like one word title movies, which, makes it easy for people to remember, I suppose. But yeah, he seems to have cornered the market. I will say this though, I say that sort of tongue in cheek because I like Jason Statham. He's actually a much better actor than people give him credit for. Like The Bank Job, he was very good in. So that's me saying that I want to see Jason Statham in, better produced movies. But here we have Shelter, another Jason Statham action movie. Tell us a little bit about this.
Um, you know, you're right. When he can blend action with something else, and mind you, there's nothing wrong with pure Jason Statham action,
Yeah.
that mindless thing. But when he takes it to another level, like his appearances in the Fast and Furious films,
Mm-hmm.
with him in the action and your humor, that's great stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it immensely. When he can add something else to that, and let's face it, that's the best part of his repertoire. But when he can add something else to it,
Yeah.
it elevates the film he's in. And here we have something with in Shelter, something with an emotional heft. I mean, it's minimalist, but in it he portrays a former, I guess it's an MI6 British operative whose boss played by the wonderful Bill Nighy. I love Bill.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Bill. Yeah.
um, ordered him to carry out an assassination that crossed his character's Mason's the character's name. It crossed his ethical line. So he didn't fulfill the mission, and he basically went on the lam. All those years, he's gone from place to place, and the latest place he's hiding, courtesy of a friend who he served with, is an abandoned lighthouse. And at this lighthouse, his friend's daughter has often wondered who he is. She shows up, delivers him supplies that her father's ordering. Weird part is it's a lighthouse, so they have to cross a body of water. Well, something tragic happens in that body of water. I'm assuming you can figure out what. And the girl's father dies. The girl Jessie, played by Bodhi Ray, and this is another name I'm not going to pronounce because I'll butcher it. I can write it, otherwise I'll butcher it.
They don't really do the stage name stuff anymore, do they? In the
no,
in
they don't, age, and right? I like that, but it can be hell on you.
It can be a little bit, yes.
Bodhi Ray Breathnock. There, that's not as difficult as it seems. She's injured, and he's forced to take her in, and he eventually, because she's injured, has to go into town and get supplies for her because her injury develops an infection. And in this day and age, in our connected age, you're walking in anywhere. And from what I understand, especially the case in Britain, in the UK, there are cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
MI6 is dialed in. It triggers their alerts, raises their antenna, and boom. Now, what happens is his former boss gets notice of it, but his former boss, and I won't tell you how he goes rogue because I don't want to spoil anything, but he goes rogue. sends a lone assassin out to find Mason, and that's where the action begins. And it's weird because the first half hour or so, it's weird for a Statham film because that first half hour
Right.
develops the relationship. Now, the next hour and 10 minutes or so, we get what we expect from a Jason Statham fix, but there's film. There's a difference there because there's that connection established. He becomes both protector and de facto father, and more than once he tells people that help the two of them along the way that my big concern is her well-being, something you don't expect.
Right.
Thoroughly entertaining, but that emotional element lifts the film.
Yeah.
Action sequences are in a Jason Statham film are always on point. Never anything you have to worry about. Bill Nighy is wonderful, but Bodhi Ray Baronak, she was in Hamnet, and I remember her now.
Okay.
This is an young actress that bears watching, and I should say actor because that's what it is now. She bears watching in the future. Mm-hmm. She's going to have a nice career as she ages.
Good. Yeah.
I'm giving my review hasn't run. I'm giving it a solid B.
Okay. Well, I think Statham's just one of those. He's usually pretty reliable, like you said. The movies aren't always top shelf from him, but he always usually brings it. He's one of those Bruce Willis like breed actors, action stars that these days can kind of carry theatrical productions. Like you don't see a lot of even the people migrating over from the Marvel Cinematic Universe getting a lot of theatrical released movies. And it seems like, Jason Statham, I don't know if it's like a bankability because, a lot of his movies don't make a ton of money, but I think the benefit for his movies are they're not usually up in that $100 million, $200 million production budget to where you have to make $300, $400, $500 million to break even. I think this one's like a $50 million production budget. Now, will they make their money back? It's hard to say, but it's good to see that, Statham still kind of does what he normally does, which is bank on theatrical as opposed to, doing every single, streaming action movie that he could probably want and probably get paid as, if not more, his, at least what his, current freight is. So it's good to see that, Jason Statham always seems to have something going on, which is never a bad thing. Cause like I said, I think he does get lost in the shuffle because he's not usually, working with like the elite of the elite directors and, the elite projects, but he's always pretty reliable when it comes down to what's at the movie theater that year. And he's always got something going on.
That's you know what? He doesn't get lost in the shuffle. But what I was going to say is I think he likes it that way.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
He could fly under the radar and do his thing.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about he doesn't have to worry about carrying a movie like you mentioned. One of those blockbuster. I mean, let's face it. By this time, the Fast and Furious films, they're not Vin Diesel. I wish I knew when 10 was coming out, but they're not Vin Diesel films anymore.
Yeah.
It's more of an ensemble, and he was part of that ensemble.
And so much so that he got a spinoff with Dwayne Johnson too. So I mean, he's definitely somebody that, just simply put, he's kind of there, and he's not lost in the shuffle, but very much someone that gets in there and is usually reliable when it comes to producing an action movie. And, will it get butts in the theater? I don't know. It's hard to say. January is such a weird month. Of course, we're in like Ice-Mageddon here in Middle Tennessee where we can't even really walk without slipping and sliding. But, I think it's just nice to see something at the movie theater for a change. We talked about The Rip a couple of weeks ago where, that's a kind of movie that you'd like to see in the theater. And you have Elevation from Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Tiana Taylor, Oscar winners slash Oscar nominated actors that could really, you would think, affect the box office. And, it didn't get that theatrical release, but, Jason Statham is like Death, Taxes, and Jason Statham one-word movies, coming out every year, right?
Absolutely. And
All right. Well,
I'm generally here for it. I don't mind a good Jason Statham.
No. Always creative action. I mean, like you said, they're always on point. So it's always one of those where, especially if it's on TV or something, back in the day when people actually had cable, exclusively, and there'd be like a Jason Statham movie on FX or something, and you would just like find yourself watching, this macho action star, as sort of a dying breed in a lot of ways.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Well, something for people to see in January. You've a couple of movies in a row here in January that you've liked. You've gone soft at your age now, huh?
Like I said, palate cleansers. I don't know. There's still 11 and a half months left in the year, so
yes.
I don't think
we're going to be filling out we're not going to be filling out the Oscar ballot for 2027 just yet, but obviously January, while it may wane a little bit theatrically, we do get a hefty amount of streaming over the next couple of months here. I know that there's a couple of shows that you have seen, one of which is returning. Shrinking is a show that really has done well for Apple TV. It's not Apple TV Plus now, but obviously Jason Segel, Harrison Ford, sort of this odd couple. I always feel like Harrison Ford may be the nicest person ever, but he always feels like he's a very gruff person. Like he probably hates all the projects he works on. You know what I mean? He just comes across that way.
And that's one interview I wish I'd been able to get in my career. It's one of the ones I missed on the junket circuit. I get the impression a lot of times he doesn't get the hubbub,
Well, especially when he was doing Brave New World last year, where he was kind of like explaining that he was Red Hulk, and like I think you could tell he didn't. He's like, the paycheck cleared, I was happy, Yeah,
and it's like he's one of those punch the time card, go do the thing, and get out. I mean, once in a while he has. Well, obviously, on certain things he gets significant input, and he loved playing Indiana Jones. He's on record with that. But he's also the one who lobbied for Han Solo's death. So
probably because he didn't want to keep playing Han Solo, even though the money was probably nice for the 20, 30 minutes of work, on screen.
But yet he came back for a force scene appearance with his son. So
well, pay the mortgage for a few months. You know what I mean?
He's got to fly that private plane.
Right. Well, but I say that to say this, a few years ago, he goes and does, he goes into the streaming world, does Shrinking. It's very well received. He's very well received, nominated for awards. And it seems like it's kind of a nice little departure. Like normally we see him in these big franchises and he's a big movie star, but here he takes on a smaller project, even though it's been well received and everybody, generally loves it. But it's good to see Harrison Ford, taking on maybe elevated work here with Shrinking. Is that the same here with this new season?
I've watched the first 3 episodes, and there is, normally you can count on a series falling off. And I love this show.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, oddly enough, in Harrison Ford's previous roles in film, he always showed sharp comedic timing.
Yeah.
In a moment.
Right.
But in this show, he's asked to do a lot more. And he's asked to combine that drama, his dramatic elements with those comedic elements. And any award he was nominated for in his role as an aging psychologist, he should have won. I mean, he's brilliant. And there's no fall off here. His character continues to evolve. His character is dealing with Parkinson's now. Oh, kudos to the producers and the creators of this show, because Michael J. Fox
Hmm.
is guest starring this season.
Okay.
And you talk about someone who hasn't lost comedic timing, even with what he's dealing with, what he's dealt with for, what has it been, 25 years, 30 years?
At least, yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I like the fact that this series, and we talked about ensemble casts with Fast and Furious only briefly. This is an ensemble cast, and they all get moments to shine. Jason Segel is fantastic as he continues to deal with the fallout of his wife's death, which is quasi resolved. Jessica Williams, fantastic as his coworker and colleague. They form a triumvirate working in a psychologist's office together. It's part of Harrison Ford's character's name is Paul. It's part of Paul's practice. And the chemistry the three of them have together, and it just extends to the rest of this cast. And
Right.
it's a wonderful, thought-provoking show that will make you laugh one moment and move you to tears the next. And it's scary that they're able to still do that.
Well, it's another home run. You know, at Apple TV, we've talked about a lot, and you know, you've obviously gushed over a lot of their content, and you know, they continue to add to their library, and they're going to have Ted Lasso back this summer, which will be another feather in their cap, I would imagine, for you know, getting some popularity to their subscription service. And obviously, Shrinking has done that as well. The Studio is another show that we both enjoyed. So it's been a good run so far for Apple TV, and obviously it's another, you know, running season of a series that's been well received. So they're not just, you know, one-off type of shows. They're actually building some depth in their library. So it's good to see that this is another thing for Apple TV users to look at.
Now it's cold outside. This starts streaming next week. Unfortunately, they never drop every episode of Shrinking.
Yeah. Right. No, Apple likes to, and I like that. It's, you know, part of it. Part of me likes when some don't do that, and then part of me likes it when it's refreshing that they don't drop everything at once.
Yeah, because it makes it like must-see TV.
Right.
Like in the past, the olden days. You remember the olden days?
I do remember the olden days. I do, sort of. Well, now we've been inundated with so much streaming, it's hard to remember the olden days, but we have another streaming show to talk about. Wonder Man. So this is Marvel dipping back into their just absolute cavalcade of characters that they could unwield onto the masses. And here we have Wonder Man. This one intrigues me a little bit. Primarily, we've got Destin Daniel Cretton, who made the Shang-Chi movie that a lot of people love, Short Term 12. So this is a guy that's got some skill behind the camera, writing and directing. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. I think I say his name right. I feel like I say it. And if you say it confidently like I say it, I think it's right. Correct? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And you know, I kept thinking to myself, we talked about this last week, and it just hit me. We talked about it off camera, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
Ben Kingsley, who we can say his name correctly for sure. Ben Kingsley returns. Most people might hopefully remember Ben Kingsley as one of the funniest parts of Iron Man 3 as the paid actor who was supposed to be portraying the Mandarin and was just a breath of fresh air when if you ever needed comedy in a Marvel movie, Trevor Slattery's character, that character from Ben Kingsley was it.
And here it is. Same purpose here, but the thing is, and every episode of Wonder Man is now streaming. I advise you to watch this series. Yeah. You know, the episodes are only about 30, 35 minutes long.
Okay.
Cretton, you know, people expecting a straight comic book adaptation. Sorry, and I'm here for it.
Yeah,
because they do something wildly different with the character. You mentioned Kingsley, and you can never not mention Ben Kingsley in anything you do. You want to talk about one of the greatest actors of his generation? Yeah,
Yes.
Ben Kingsley. He makes that list. Trevor Slattery is bad, but the thing is, they take the I don't want to call him tragedy, his misdeeds of Iron Man 3, and they use them. They propel the character and they propel him forward.
Okay.
In Iron Man 3, he was a lush and drug addict, and they paid him well, and they kept him plied with those things.
Yeah.
Here, he's a recovering alcoholic and drug addict,
Okay.
looking to reclaim his professional life.
Yeah.
And, he hops off a plane. He's cornered by the FBI, who is now surveilling metahumans. I don't know if that's what they're called in the...
I don't know if the Marvel Cinematic Universe calls them metahumans. They do in DC, though, now. So
we're going to go with the generic metahumans. And they have suspicions about Simon Williams. They did keep the character's name the same. A struggling actor who's just trying to get a break. And they get Slattery to infiltrate his life. And, well, I should say they extort him or blackmail him into infiltrating his life.
Okay.
And the problem is, as Trevor Slattery gets to know Simon Williams, he comes to understand that they are kindred spirits and that they view acting as an art form, a pure art form, and neither one wants to sell it.
Right.
Things happen after that. And you could probably predict where it's going to go, but the creative choices they make here are brilliant. The performances from Mateen and Ben Kingsley are equally so. And I haven't enjoyed a Marvel television series, and it's interesting to see because they don't call it the MCU anymore. They call it Marvel Spotlight at the beginning of the credits. So I don't know if that's significant. I don't know if that's significant or not. But it's one of the most refreshing. It's the most refreshing Marvel series I've seen since WandaVision.
Yeah.
It's that creative.
Now, is this obviously we've seen Wanda and Vision in the cinematic universe. Is Wonder Man going to be part of this, rebooting of the cinematic universe, or is he just a standalone? This guy exists, but he's probably not going to be called up to the Avengers anytime soon.
That's a good question. I should have researched that. I am unaware.
Because I know Mateen is very busy, and I'm very excited to know that he is going to be in the Adventures of Cliff Booth, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel with David Fincher, of course, Brad Pitt. So there's a lot of excitement there because of that. But I don't see any Doomsday or any Avengers credits in his future. But is he in that level, or is he just like this perfect for TV, but maybe not in the cinematic realm?
He's not in the cinematic realm. He's of that universe, but he's not, obviously, with Trevor Slattery appearing, but he won't be in Avengers. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe in the future, you never know. As his star continues to climb, I think it seems like that's what's happening. Is maybe his star is starting to shine a little bit, getting some better, roles. Of course, like I said, with the Adventures of Cliff Booth, and he's got a lot of movies in production here. So good to see that he's finally taking off. I really thought, man, after seeing him in Watchmen, and then he did Candyman, and I kind of felt like he's got a real bright future, and still does. He's still young, but very interested to see, how his career continues to progress.
The question is, are we looking at another Denzel or Chadwick? And I think he has those kind of chops. You're right. It's going to be interesting to see what he does. And I don't think, had this been a straight remake, straight adaptation, I don't think it would have interested him at all.
Right. Right.
Obviously, I don't know, but it's like he seems like an actor of substance and intention rather
Right.
than merely they all do it for the paycheck. But, you know, I think he's going for something more than a paycheck in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Well, and he's done the Aquaman movies. He was Black Manta or whatever Black Manta. So, I mean, he's done sort of he's dipped his toes into the superhero game, but like you said, I think he's probably a little bit more selective, and I think it's, he's getting into that mold now where he wants to kind of make sure he's working with the best talent possible to maximize his talent because like you said, he's got the chops for it. So, very excited to see that. So there's a lot of stuff that people can watch as they maybe remain snowed in. I know we're finally out of January, even though this might have been the best January for movie releases for you in years, huh? But
Yeah.
what's up on the calendar?
Normally I don't see anything in January. Normally I count on taking that entire month off from the theater. February 6th. Let's see. Wow. Huh. There is nothing.
Yeah.
There is nothing February 6th. Let me double check that. Hold on.
Well, apparently there's a Dracula movie with Christoph Waltz in it, which perks up the ears pretty quickly, and it's a Luc Besson movie. Oh, okay.
Okay. That
That's
bare minimum is gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot going on.
No.
Horror with The Strangers Chapter 3. Anything streaming wise coming up or that you're getting
There's
ready to watch?
There's a new iteration of The Muppet Show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Guess who
I figured that would be on your calendar. Isn't that Seth Rogen? Yeah. I figured that would be on your radar.
Yeah. And I've looked at it. We're not going to talk about it any further, but I've looked at it.
Okay. All right. Well, we will leave you all with that tease. As always, George, we appreciate you stopping by. We hope you stay safe during snow and ice Mageddon, although I think Ohio might be a little bit more equipped to dig themselves out of the snow and ice than Tennessee right now. But stay safe.
Tennessee doing? How is
it?
Tennessee?
It is like a disaster zone. It is. We've got like 2.5, 3 inches thick of ice on our back porch, and our car was covered in like 2 inches of ice. It looked like the wheels were actually stuck to the ground by ice because the ice just formed around everything. So it's we've been indoors the entire time with the exception of taking out our dog. So it's been a little bit of a struggle, and usually we get these warm spells after rain or snow or whatever that would be an issue. We haven't had the warm spells to get rid of all this stuff yet, and we don't seem to be in any sight for that. So we're kind of a little nervous about how long it's going to take to dig out of some of this stuff.
You know what? You asked what's coming in I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it. The Lincoln Lawyer is back next week.
Wow. Okay.
And that me, I love that show.
Yeah.
So that's back next week. Are you still snowed in?
Yeah. Really? The road. Well, the issue that we have is we kind of live on not the bottom of a hill. It's not some Tim Burton movie or something, but we sort of have like an inclined sloping road that goes down into our complex. And I don't know that, first of all, I don't even know if we could get the car out of the driveway because I think it's still frozen to the ground. Like the ice has just not melted, and any ice that's melted from the sunshine has refrozen from the cold weather at night. So we have, it's obviously, snow and ice removal is not the forte of Tennesseans. And I think we might be the only people that have a shovel in our area, but you can't really shovel it when it's 2.5, 3 inches thick of ice. So it's kind of hard to shovel anything. And the roads, while some of the roads look passable, I don't know that we could even get up above our slope to get onto one of our main roads here in the city. So it's really schools have closed for pretty much the entire week. The city offices have closed, so it's just been a sort of a disaster in a lot of ways. You know,
Welcome back to Ohio.
Waffle House even closed, George, and Waffle House never closes. That's how bad it's gotten down here. And again, you know, normally we would have an event like this. Like I remember in 2024, we got like 6 or 7 inches of snow, but like the next day it would be in the 50s, so everything just melts, you know. But we have not been above freezing at all, even though we've had sunlight, but we haven't been above freezing at all since this, you know, event. So we've had to just hunker down and just hope for the best at this point, and hope we got enough food for the next week or so.
Okay. We shop for a month, so
yeah, they don't do it the same way down here in Tennessee. They just, you know, we don't have the amount of salt, the plows, the road. You know, we just don't have that infrastructure in the state because we're not used to it. You know, we might get like 1 or 2 snow events a season, if that, and really when it is a snow event, it's like an inch of snow maybe at most. So this was a real bad one because we got less snow than we expected, and we got a lot more freezing rain and sleet than we wanted. And it's just wreaking havoc on us.
So what is it supposed to be above freezing consistently at
night? Maybe I guess tomorrow it's supposed to be above freezing during the day, but it'll be cold at night. I mean, the low temp, we get above freezing on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week, and then Friday it's going to be 42. But each low is in the 20s, which means it's probably going to be pretty cold at night, and anything that melts will refreeze. Wow. So we might be in it for the long haul. The good thing is we live pretty close to grocery stores, so I guess if we had to trek it, we could maybe try it. But I mean, it's just been. And they don't have snow emergencies down here, so you can't say, "Well, we're under a level 3 or a level," like they don't know what that is. So it's just more of the be careful out there if you have to go out there. It's not like, "Hey, level 3, you're going to get pulled over and arrested if you drive out here." You know, there's nothing like that here.
I got it. Okay.
All right, my friend. Well, we will hunker in, and maybe we'll hopefully be able to find another weekend gem like we did last week with Train Dreams. Very excited we watched that, and maybe we'll find another new movie to watch as we continue to plug along on Ice-Mageddon.
By the way, you're welcome for Train Dreams.
Well, you know, yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, it's it wouldn't quite slot in above One Battle After Another for me, but
it's up there.
It'd be number 2 for sure, and it will get very, very, very strong consideration when I compile a best of the decade, because it is that emotionally impacting. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful movie, and I just can't wait to see it again and make my wife get depressed again all over.
And the travesty is it won't get a physical release for me.
No, it won't. Well, hasn't Netflix done some physical copy?
Frankenstein is getting a physical release.
Yeah.
That was part of the contract.
Yeah. Well, I will say this though. If they can continue making, like, I didn't know this filmmaking team of Clint Bentley and Greg Quidar, who did Sing Sing a couple of years ago, which, you know, scored a couple of Oscar nominations. I wasn't really aware of this filmmaking team, but honestly, I'm glad that I am now, because these guys are like must-view projects for me at this point moving forward, because they just absolutely hit a home run. And now I need to go see Sing Sing, because if it's half as good as Train Dreams, I'll be very pleased.
I get it. Right there with you.
All right, man. Well, you take care of yourself, and we will talk again real soon.
We'll have Muppets for you.
All right. Sounds great.